In his post online, Tristan Gonzalez had very specific details about the bank behind me, including descriptions of some of the employees inside and how he was going to escape.
When it came to the postings, there was specific information about people who were employed at the bank that I guess lends credibility and suggests to the end user or reader that this person's been in that bank and interacted with those individuals.
When Coweta County officials spoke to Gonzalez, he said he was just live-action role-playing, also known as LARPing.
Even if this was some sort of live-action role play or pretense, it's not a fantasy for the people that work in the bank who are now scared to come to work because they're afraid they'll be shot or robbed.
According to a police report, a handgun was found in Gonzalez's home, and the bank was partially closed down for a day for the safety of its employees.
Any reasonably prudent person would have to address a complaint like that. The alternative would be to do what? Nothing. And then if the bank was robbed, if someone were killed, what would people say then? They would say, you knew about this. What action did you take? None.
And even though officials aren't sure whether he was going to carry out the plan to rob this bank, they simply didn't want to take a chance. In Noonan, I'm Ellen Lopez, 11 Alive News.